Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Welcome back. It's me, Maloney, and welcome to another Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. And if you're on video on YouTube, you'll see that my hair has changed. That song, What a Difference a Day Makes, 24 little hours. My hair is so dark at the moment. It'll come lighter again. It's just the way they do it here in Mexico, or my hairdresser, she puts in this overall toner, but it's actually very dark at the end. Anyway, that's an aside. How are you all doing? And earlier today in my meditation, something connected that I wanted to share with you that really felt quite profound in the moment. And since then, I'm kind of left pondering it and how it relates to this water as well. Because as I've been telling some people lately as well, I'm like, this vessel and this water, what it is for me more than anything, which again is very difficult to conceptualize. It's an embodied feeling, but it comes back to divine light in one way. That primordial energy, that primordial light that hydrogen is and is part of, that's what we're bringing into our cells again. Oh, and I suppose maybe the catalyst, now I'm seeing it as I'm talking. Yesterday, was it yesterday, the day before, I was talking to a friend about the water and the bottle, and I'd sent her the clip from that I shared on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago now, from chatting with David Guillaume, who is a Kabbalistic teacher. We're chatting to his AI, which is fantastic. And I just find Kabbalah such an incredible spiritual technology that has such a way of explaining things from their perspective. And anyway, I was talking about completely different things. I was kind of going through an existential crisis, and the information was really helpful and interesting to me and giving me a bigger perspective of where my mind was at and the kind of questions that were coming up that were pretty deep. But anyway, at the end, and I shared this on my Instagram, for some reason, I just decided to ask about hydrogen and this water and how I was perceiving it as divine light and all these kind of different things. And I was like, really not expecting that he would have any kind of an answer to share. But what he shared absolutely blew me away. That hydrogen does have a role. It even has a name within the Kabbalistic tradition, and it's considered the first light, the kind of first breath of the universe after the Big Bang that's been involved in the creation of the whole universe. And it was just so deep and profound. I was like, OMG. I was literally left with my jaw open because this was something I was perceiving and feeling in my body. The more I'm on this water and the longer I'm taking it, and the more I continue to study and be part of the community of Luma Vitae and hear what's happening for others, it's like, OMG. Anyway, and I shared that with this friend recently, kind of brought it to mind again, but I haven't thought about it again since. And then in my meditation today, it just dropped in that what this is supporting us with on a mitochondrial nervous system, cellular level, is returning us to the original seed of light that we are. They're the words that came to my mind. And then, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, and you can Google it. If you look up the zinc spark, I remember watching a short clip years ago, or last year, no, it was a couple of years ago, about the zinc spark and how we are created from light. That in the moment when the egg and the sperm fuse, there's actually an explosion of light that happens. And it's been shown and seen scientifically on a microscope of this kind of blast of light that happens in that moment of fusion. And it's known as the zinc spark. You know, maybe there's zinc there. I definitely believe there's hydrogen involved in there in some way as well. But anyway, it's that first, we are born of light. It is that first light. It is that ignition of light, that seed of light that we are, that actually gives life. And again, this was like a mind orgasm moment of deeper connection, remembrance during my meditation. It was literally like, OMG again, like, wow. And again, go look up the zinc spark. So then it got me, and all of this sounds very out there and woo woo, but then it got me thinking again about, well, we are this original seed of light. Light is our essence. But then we come into a human form and we go through so many different life experiences that this light gets dimmed. It gets dimmed through a huge amount of ways. I think the original dimming of our light comes down to, well, it can be, because obviously what dims our light is all, and I'll go through some of them, but it's toxins, it's stress, it's foods, it's environment. But if you're just this brand new baby, most parents, and again, not all, but most parents are very conscious in giving them the best food. Obviously, there's still a lot of ultra processed foods out there that we give to kids that are not good, but by and large, most parents try and give the best and organic. I always say the attention they give to their newborn babies, we need to give to ourselves always as well. So just leaving that piece aside, because that definitely plays as we get older. But when you think then we're this tiny little ball of light, this ball of consciousness as a baby, and that kind of toxin stress element doesn't come in as much until later in life. Yes, it plays a role, but definitely much later that plays. So, what happens originally that dims our light? And for me, it came down to nervous system dysregulation and stored trauma and some experience. And again, it doesn't have to be a big T trauma. When we are kids, I've spoken about this before, science speaks about this before, as babies up until about the age of 7, we don't have the beta brain to logically or critically analyze things. We just take everything as verbatim. So if someone turns their back on us in a moment as a child, we can interpret that. We take it verbatim as in, I'm not important, I'm not lovable, I'm not good. Like these are the levels of imprints that are created in our nervous system as a result of something that can seem so inconsequential, or like, that was an adult just going to answer the phone or pick up your brother or sister or whatever. But as a child, we don't know that. That's why we all have trauma on different levels. And then obviously it goes up the scale to big T traumas. But even the seemingly most inconsequential things, or getting up in front of your class in school and being laughed at, or stuttering your words, or weeing your pants in play school or something, all of these we can see as adults like, oh, yeah, that wasn't anything. But as a child, that is programmed into our nervous system, especially based on the reaction of others. If people laugh, if we're told, like, oh God, don't do that, or whatever, it's programmed in as I'm wrong, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I'm not unlovable. And that is the subconscious program that is running us for life. For me, it was being startled awake by my drunk father, aged a year and a half, in my cot in the middle of the night, that I believed that I was unsafe. Like that's the story that was created for me. Again, it wasn't conscious, and I wasn't conscious of it for most of my life, but that's what was running because of that original imprint. Again, we are a seed of light. We are pure consciousness. We're coming in. I don't even believe we've realized we've been born into a body, and something happens from the external environment that kind of startles us awake. And then we get this original kind of imprint and trauma, which causes nervous system dysregulation, which then, for the most part, we live with unconsciously for the rest of our lives until some catastrophic thing happens and we begin to do the work, or unless we're curious and we decide to do the work. As they say, we learn or we wake up either one of two ways: through the dark night of the soul, where something will happen out of nowhere, something huge, horrific, to kind of shake us awake, or through seeing the light, but most people wait for the dark night of the soul. So I believe that's a huge factor for how our light is dimmed in the first place. Nervous system dysregulation. And as I say, then we continue with that for our whole entire lives. Once our nervous system gets that original message, so it's either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. For me, it was freeze. I was absolutely frozen from that moment forward. That was the baseline of my nervous system. That's how I lived my life again unconsciously for most of my life. I was hyper vigilant. I was hyper aware. I was hyper alert. I couldn't rest. I couldn't take it easy. I was constantly scanning without me realizing for something unpredictable to come out of nowhere. Okay, so that is a huge piece. And when our nervous system is stuck in survival, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, healing is not prioritized. It cannot. Expression of our light, health, vitality cannot be expressed because the body is overstimulated. It is processing all of these, or it's holding and kind of recirculating all of these unprocessed emotions. So I think that's where a lot of the original dimming of our light comes from. But then other things on top of that are the likes of oxidative stress, which is basically like a cellular rust. The body produces free radicals. Not all of them are bad, but some of them, I think it's hydroxyl, the free radical one, is especially bad because it can change into so many forms. That is damaging our mitochondria. When we have oxidative stress, and we all have oxidative stress, we all have free radicals. If we don't keep them under control, and again, not just clear washing all of them, we need some free radicals. Not all of them are bad, just like not all inflammation is bad. That's why this technology from Lumavita, this bottle, is so, and molecular hydrogen in general, is so incredible because it is a selective antioxidant. It knows which ones are damaging, it knows which ones are bad, and it leaves the good ones. So that also dims our light. Oxidative stress, cellular rust, chronic inflammation, like I mentioned as well. Inflammation again is not bad. It's a natural response of the body when something foreign comes into the body. But the reality is now most foods are foreign that people are eating because they're ultra processed foods. So the body is constantly thinking it's under attack from something, which in one sense it is, because these ultra processed foods aren't natural to the body. So it sees it as a foreign object that it needs to attack, as well as when we are stressed and infection. If we have any infection or anything going on, the body is feeling under attack, so it's fighting extra hard. And again, molecular hydrogen is very selective in knowing what inflammation is bad and what inflammation is good. It leaves the good alone and it only goes after the bad, which is incredible. Mitochondrial dysfunction as well. Our mitochondria are the light generator. Again, like that original seed of light, I think our mitochondria, which are in every single cell, they're the powerhouse to every cell, actually. They hold the original light. The light doesn't ever leave us or go anywhere until we pass, when also they say there is an explosion of light. So the light goes nowhere in between the first light when we're born and the last light when we pass on. The light goes nowhere. It is still there. And this is our true nature. And that's why it always comes back to, or once you start your inner journey and you see the truth of it all, you realize there was nothing wrong with you, that you are perfect, whole, and complete always, because that original light is there. But what has happened is the conditioning, the trauma, the separation from that original truth, because we get fixated on our human and victim and our stories and our trauma and all of these issues that we forget. And it's not about there's nothing really to fix. It's about dissolving and letting go. And this is what my new course, Unlimited Luminous Self, is all about. It's not about fixing. It's about dissolving. It's about letting go of all the programming, the wounding, the conditioning. That is not you. It's not the truth of us like that. Like me as a 1.5-year-old learned that, oh, I'm not safe, so I need to be hyper vigilant. That's a learned behavior. That's a protection mechanism. And that's what it always comes down to in one way, shape, or form. But when we're in that fight, flight, or freeze, again, we're separated from our light force energy. Again, our light force energy, our prana, our chi, that original light cannot flow freely around the body because it's in this kind of hyper arousal, ready to act state. So that dims. And again, when that's happening, the mitochondria, which are the power sources to fuel the cells, they don't have energy to create the ATP to power the cell. And then as well, what dims our light, which I've touched on before. I always drank water. I thought water was water, but I've learned so differently that no, it's not. And dehydration is nearly the root, fundamental, baseline issue at times to a lot of things. Because when we are dehydrated, it amplifies all of the bad that's already going on in the body. It heightens it, it exasperates it. But it's not just about drinking more water. It's not about volume, because like that, I've drank liters of water every day for decades, and I was still dehydrated and I still had bloating and all these issues. And I peed a lot more because it goes straight through you at times. Because we're dehydrated, it can't even get into the cell. It's about structured water. The original water was structured water, coherent water, living water that can actually get into the cell. Because again, water carries light, water carries consciousness. And when that energy can't get into the cell, when that proper, structured, living, coherent water like this vessel creates, when it can't get into the cell, well, it's pretty much useless. So this is what this is. It's not just a water bottle. Like, yes, it is. It's a water bottle. You put water in it. But through the technology of molecular hydrogen and the frequencies that Lumavitae have created, it is bringing water as well back to its original light, back to its original seed, making a true, coherent, structured, living water again that our bodies can absorb, that our cells, our mitochondria need to function optimally again. And that's what this is about, restoring the original light in the body, restoring the original optimal functioning of the body. Because the body doesn't forget how to function. The body holds the intelligence. The body has the wisdom, but the body cannot function properly. It cannot function optimally as it was designed to without the right inputs. And nowadays, our inputs are so skewed that even when I was doing the healthy eating and exercising and inner work and meditating and different bits and breath works, yes, they were great, but I couldn't hold that frequency because on a baseline fundamental level, I was still dehydrated. My body was still lacking energy. My body was still lacking light. My cells were still lacking electricity, so they couldn't function optimally. And when that changes, when your original functioning of your body is restored, which has happened to me, which happens to everyone in the community who uses this consistently, you feel it. It is night and day because, and everything we layer on top of that, this is the most magical part. Everything we layer on top of that, the breath work, the meditation, the walks, the healthy eating, the reading books, the listening to music, whatever else that you enjoy that makes you feel good, that changes your frequency and lifts your vibe. Now that you've got the foundation and the baseline right in the first place of your nervous system, your light, your vitality being restored, well, now you can hold that. You can feel those benefits even more of all of these things that you love to do. And again, it's night and day. And that's something I just wanted to share from what came up with my meditation, that, that seed of light that we are, which is the truth of us, which comes back to divine, pure, unconditional love. Love is the only truth. But as I've been sharing on my Instagram as well recently, to come back and to know the truth of that divine, unconditional love, it takes huge courage, because we have to sit with ourselves, we have to overcome ourselves, we have to face ourselves, we have to dissolve all of the stories and the identities that we created as protection mechanisms, and we have to feel safe in our nervous system again, to surrender the old ways so we can come back to our original source. And, life is set up to keep us well distracted from ourselves and numb out and avoid ever having to sit with ourselves, ever having to spend a moment with ourselves, especially with these mobile phones. We can keep ourselves distracted from the second we wake up in the morning to the second we go to bed, and have no time to sit with ourselves quietly, to sit in silence, to process, to be. We can avoid it all. And society is so set up in that way. But the ultimate, ultimate, ultimate truth is we cannot outrun ourselves. We can think we're playing a great game. We can get away with it for a couple of years, a couple of decades, a lot of people, but we cannot outrun ourselves. Our nervous system living a lifetime in survival, it will catch up with us. Something will present. That's the way it is. And I learned that as well the hard way. I had to go through a huge traumatic breakup and lose everything I owned to finally start walking my talk, to finally start putting into action everything I'd ever read, to start looking at myself and overcoming myself and my stories and my own victim mentality. It's what it takes. And since, again, this proper baseline hydration came into my life, how it has amplified and shifted everything. Like that, the lights are back on. I still have dips because, I still eat the ultra processed food sometimes or whatever. Fine. But my body is humming. My body is functioning. My body is optimized more than ever again. My body is more back to its original seed light. And this is the beauty. When you keep going, it keeps getting better and better and better. And the new bottle that is about to launch, this next evolution of this bottle, which this bottle is already the gold standard. The new bottle that's coming out is fully patented, never seen before in the world, never will exist again because it's fully patented. And it is next level coherence, nervous system regulation, hydration, cellular support, cellular health, that I personally cannot wait. I have had so much benefit from this, like I say, night and day, as thousands and thousands all around the world have. And we as a community and everyone else who has said yes to Luma, the new bottle, is so excited to get it. We can already feel the energy. It's like, this feels like, to me, it's like, okay, this is like coming back to baseline. This is coming back online, bringing your original seed light back online. This is how it feels for me, my perception. Luma, when I tune into that energy and I feel it, that feels like a rocket to our greatest expression, because we are light and we came here to express as our divine truth of that light. But again, when we're in survival, when we're dehydrated, when we've so much inflammation and chronic stress and oxidative stress, we can't express our light because our body, we don't have the energy because all of our energy is going to survival. But when you come out of survival, whew, all of that energy is ready to move towards your dreams, ready to move towards health, ready to move towards vitality, ready to move towards creating and dreaming and manifesting and expressing your most incredible light that you are. That's not human. It's not me thinking about my light. It's allowing it to lead you, to guide you even more. That's what it feels like. Luma is like the rocket to take off, whereas this was bringing us back online, bringing the body back online. I literally feel like I'm back online again. And Luma's the next level. So it is in pre-launch, the very last, I don't know when I'm going to put this up, but until the 30th of April is the very, very last time to get Luma at the pre-launch price. Believe me, you will not be sorry, no more than I have not been sorry since investing in this, and nobody who has invested in it has been sorry, unless they didn't use it or lost it or something like that. But yeah, reach out, send me an email. And yeah, if it calls you, this is, if you feel it, follow it, because there's something here for you. Okay, my dears, see you on Instagram at Karen Maloney. See you, send me an email, support@karenmaloney.com, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.